Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the anime Fire Force Season 1 on Toonami. And I really enjoyed this one. I had seen some rumblings of it and be like, okay, it'd be really kind of cool to watch that one at some point. So I'm like thinking, okay, it'll come to a streaming service or whatnot. But Toonami got a hold of it, and I'm like, yes, good one, Toonami. And I really, really enjoyed this anime. It just really ticks a lot of boxes. Really great animation, so that way you're just drawn into the world, and it really does a great job with conveying what's going on action wise. Uh, a good story, because it's like, okay, human combustion. People are spontaneously turning into fire creatures. Holy shit, that's interesting. And good character development. It's like, oh god, all the packages. And I just couldn't wait for the next episode to come on. I'm like, oh, right, cool. Now, granted, since there's like delay in how it was released in Japan and here, you have to avoid spoilers, but I think they did a good job of syncing up everything so that way you're like, okay, you can avoid spoilers as much as possible. So, the basic premise of this world is that there's human combustion going on and they don't know what's going on with it. It happens at random, and someone could be like, as we see in the opening episode, on a train and suddenly, poof, turn into this thing called an infernal. And we are introduced to, well, the main thing, the Fire Force, which is these people that are going to deal with these infernals, and Shinra Kusakabe, our main character that we were following throughout this. And he's like, oh, alright, cool. And the Fire Force is kind of different than like a firefighting squad. There's actually other firefighters as well that are kind of working in tandem, but these people have special skills. They're usually made up of pyrokinetics, which are people that can control flames with their minds. And we've got different kind of variations. We've got second gen who can only like control the flame but can't create the flame. We've got third gens that can kind of do a little bit of both. And one character's got like second and third gen. It's like, holy crap. And you're not just like throwing these terms out. They do a nice job of like building this up. We see that Shinra's, he is a third gen and he can produce fire from his feet and he can pretty much fly around. But granted, as the series progresses, we learn that that's just the tip of the iceberg of his abilities. Now, granted, you're like, oh, it's a main character, he's going to be OP. And granted, towards the end, when you see his powers, you're like, holy shit, but he builds up. They do a very good job of being like, okay, this is where he is. He gets into some stumbling blocks, and he does actually have to train and figure out different kind of strategies in order to win battles. So he is put into Fire Force Company 8. And this seems to be a kind of like weird one. We've got the Captain Obi, who has no pyrokinetic abilities whatsoever. He's just like, he trains himself up and uses all these different kind of armaments and everything. I was like, okay. Hinoa is the lieutenant, and he's a very no nonsense, by the rules kind of dude. And when we start seeing the formation of why Company 8 was made, and these two figures, it's like, okay, that's really cool. And they did it to help people. They're like, something's going wrong here. And they actually created this company to investigate all the other companies and try and get behind the source of what is going on with human combustion. We see Maki, who's kind of like the ex-military kind of chick, and she's very kind of like sensitive to that kind of stuff. Like if you tried to say something about her muscles or whatnot, she'd like beat the crap out of you. Now, granted, she's not. She doesn't completely go tsundere mode of like I will beat the ever living crap out of you. She's just sensitive about that stuff, but she's also got like the romantic sides and like if you want somebody in your corner for like a whooping ass kind of shit, you definitely want her. We've got Sister Iris showing us the religious aspects of what's going on with this world because as we're getting throughout the series, there was some giant fire cataclysm that pretty much burnt the world. And this dude, Raffles, found this like holy flame of like soul that they, of course, soul being like for the sun, because it's the soul system and everything. And rebuilding this kind of empire. And at first you're like, okay, isn't this Japan? It is, but there's like this new. It's almost kind of similar to like post-war Japan, World War II, where this is a different kind of force where there are usual kind of traditionalist Japanese going on in Japan, but there's like this different kind of empire going on because this holy flame was used to create energy and all this. And it's like, okay, whoa, all right, that becomes important because we don't get the full story behind that, and that's what I'm really excited to see eventually because we see the linking of what's going on. So he gets in there. He's also joined by this Arthur dude who is a dumb Night King dude. He calls his like plasma flame thing Excalibur, and he doesn't like Shinra because he's called the devil because of the smile he's got, which is a nervous tick. And Shinra just wants to be a hero. He wanted to protect his brother and his mother, but they died 12 years ago in a fire, and he thought his mom went infernal. He was told that his family had been killed, and he wanted to continue on with that promise and to be a hero. And it's like, damn, I really like your Shinra. He wants to help people and everything, and he knows that the smile kind of throws people off. And I'm like, he's kind of freaky, but he's nervous, and that's what happens. And I'm like, son of a bitch, let him do. He's okay. So the first kind of portion of the series deals with kind of like introducing us into this world and showing, okay, he gets into the group kind of mix, figures out what's going on, gets into his own thing, and we start figuring out that something is going wrong with the other companies. They're like, okay, they go into one that was specifically pretty much diving into infernals and everything and doing experimentations on them, and we're like, okay, somebody was turned into infernal at a trial. This is kind of weird, and they actually got a hold of him and to use him because he still retained some vestiges of sentience and was actually kind of aware and talking. Usually that doesn't happen a lot with infernals because they're usually just kind of like mindless creatures. In some instances, they kind of just sit there. Because there's a one episode that dealt with this one dude went infernal and he just sat there waiting to pretty much be taken out so he didn't hurt anybody. It's like, God damn, okay, what the fuck's going on here? So as they're investigating and gaining allies because they take out that one company and gain the help of that captain, even though she's more smitten with Shinra than with anybody else, she does eventually kind of work into the dynamic. It's like, ooh, okay, that's kind of interesting. But it then starts shifting to this other group, the White Clads, and evidently they have all their fingers throughout what's going on. And as we see it kind of layered back and everything, we see that they're the ones that are using these kind of bugs to find like this pilot light or whatnot. It's like, what? Okay. And their goal is not to really create the infernals. Theirs is to find like the Adola burst, which of course Shinra has. It's like, okay, it's an unsullied flame. And we're like, alright, what does that mean? Granted, we are teased with things, but it's not like complete outright like, I know more than you. It's like, okay, we'll tease more of this. We actually get kind of answers as we're going through this first season even. So they're pretty much making these guys out. They're able to stop some of the ones that are like infiltrated like one company, but they're like, all right. They start having battles and everything, and eventually get to the point where they go into this region called the Nether, and it's pretty much just like the old subway systems, but it's like linked with Hell and the Nether region, the Nether realms of the afterlife. It's holy crap. And at this point, we've gathered some other kind of people into the effect of having like a kind of engineer with like Vulcan, and he's kind of cool. I like the different kind of things that he like brings to the table, and he's given time to kind of get a little bit fleshed out. But since him and the other character leaked are there kind of towards the end of the series, they don't get as much character development as the other ones, but they're not just throwaways. They're there and it's like, okay, this is kind of cool. It never feels kind of too expansive when these characters are added. It's like, okay, they're adding something to these stories. Leaked especially as we get to a point, as we get into and we see that one of the people important to the White Clads is Sho, Shinra's brother. He didn't die. It's like, what the hell? And their confrontation was fucking amazing. Now granted, the fight scenes in this anime are really good. Like, they're not basic. I mean, even their basic ones are pretty damn well done. I'm like, okay, yeah, you got that. But Sho and Shinra's towards the end of the season is just fucking awesome to watch. You're like glued into the action, but it's never just mindless action. There's purpose behind it, because we start seeing that Shinra and Sho have abilities far beyond pyrokinesis. Sho is able to like affect the heat of the universe's expansion to essentially look like he's stopping time, and he uses it to really fuck up Shinra. But during the fight, he's starting to use different kind of techniques that he's learned to channel his flames, and evidently the reason Sho is able to do this is through the grace of the Evangelist. And what the fuck's the Evangelist? And we learn that their powers are almost linked to hell. Like, evidently the fire powers, or what happened with the Cataclysm, was linked with like a dimension that we think of as hell. And we're like, okay, we see some Infernals turning into what we look as demons. And one of them that we've seen that has like horns for eyes is important because we learn at the end of the season that this is Shinra's mother. And that after he's pretty much... Him and Sho pretty much came into a draw because Shinra had unlocked his abilities to essentially go faster than the speed of light. Like, he would intentionally destroy his body and go back in time to kind of reassemble himself to get to a point to actually fight through. He gets stabbed in the chest, like, holy fucking shit. But Sho gets mind controlled by one of the other Adola bursts within the White Clad League to take him out. And we're like, holy crap. And Shinra was only able to do that by kind of using an Adola link, linking to Sho's power in order to get that kind of grace from the Evangelist. So the Evangelist is a big kind of hell dimension kind of being, and evidently Shinra's mother is in there because when Sho's powers were awakened as a baby and started the whole fire thing that happened 12 years ago, she got turned into Infernal and kind of went to that hell dimension and looked upon the Evangelist. Her eyes went fucked up and she moved her horns down that way, and Shinra has now made it his goal at the end of the series to try and find her and turn her back into a human. I'm like, that's a hard goal to have, but do it, man. I really am like, that's cool. I want to see if you can do it and see what the hell goes on through there. I'm like, holy shit. So that end part where we see everybody kind of utilizing their new kind of techniques and fighting the forces of the White Clad works very well because it is more of a draw because Shinra pretty much almost died. A lot of the people got fucked up. Vulcan got messed up because his ex-girlfriend at this point is like a brainwashed lackey of one of the White Clad, Dr. Giovanni, and he kind of gave us it's definitely an info dump, but it's done in a way that he's like, I'm a smart motherfucker and I don't need to tell you this shit, but you're gonna die anyway, so fuck off, man. But they don't die, so it's like, okay, but he never tells them everything. So it's like, okay. And of course, Shinra gets all this information more from one of the other captains from like Company 1, Captain Burns, and he evidently knew what had been going on. He even saw the Evangelist and lost one of his eyes to that, and he pretty much gave us all the rest of the information related to Shinra's mother. It's like, holy crap, this is going to be a big thing. Because evidently they want to burn the world? Turn it into another sun kind of thing? It's really kind of like, alright, that's not good. You're going to have to kind of stop that. That's not cool. Yeah, that's the thing that you want to stop. And seeing, like, Company 8 gathering all these allies, it's like, yeah, they're going to need them. And we see them gathering them from other companies. And we kind of have that party at the end where Shinra's, like, welcomed home. It's really nice and a really nice capstone for the end of this season. Because you usually get into that effect of, like, alright, first season, really need to set up the world, characters, and then you really have little time for that first season story. That doesn't really happen here. We get a nice progression of introducing us to the world, what usually these people would be doing, escalating from there of like, oh, okay, here's this bigger mystery, and then resolving kind of the plot threads that have been done in this season to a nice conclusion without completely having to end the story in this season. And they did a very good job at that. This was not a cliffhanger whatsoever. They ended what this story was done in this season while giving us enough information for what's going to be happening later on in the series, and I can't wait. I'm like, good job, guys. This is a really good anime. I was really hooked into it, and I can't wait for more of it. So, I would definitely recommend this anime to anybody that's into the animation style. It's more Soul Eater style because it's connected to that creator, And at first I was like, okay, I don't know if how well I'll like it. Not that I had a problem with Soul Eater. I'm like, all right, let's see how this works. And I really dug it, and especially the action. If you're into action, definitely do this. If you're into character development as well, this is like a double threat that's like, yeah, okay, it's really, really good. There is a problem, however. For some reason, certain things were censored in this on the Toonami broadcast. I don't know if it was Funimation, Toonami, whatsoever. It's mainly dealt in regards to like fan service because one of the characters has this lucky lecture kind of thing where pretty much whenever somebody's like of the opposite genders around them, depending upon what happens in the circumstance, they'll either like grab her ass unintentionally or grab her boobs unintentionally. Now, granted, it doesn't really affect it that much, but I'm like, okay, it's not really that bad to begin with. Why is this censored? That's my main annoyance. And that's the only real problem I have with this because they did great with everything else and great with the dub because the characters really fit and there wasn't any kind of like, okay, I am Mr. Mustache Twirly Twirly Man. No, there wasn't like any kind of voice that was like, what? They all kind of fit the characters and the tone going forward. So I'm like, yes, okay. So hopefully they kind of refrain from that going in the future, but I would recommend this anime too. Mainly people that don't like that like action and like character development and aren't afraid of like scary, weird kind of religious stuff getting kind of brought up and like talked about and all that. Other than that, you're good to go with this, and I just can't wait for them to do the next season. So those are my opinions on the anime. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.